Hello everyone, this is your favorite Murtad live once again, and today we have another important topic. This is about slavery. As you can see from the title itself, it's the slavery and Islamic traditions and Muhammad himself. Slavery is a very essential part of Islamic tradition, very essential part. If you read Quran, there is 9 locations where Malakat al Imanukum or Malakat al Yamin has been used. Hey, thank you, brother. I love you, Jesus. Great. Welcome, brother. Welcome. So, it's a very essential part of Islam. I was first thinking that I should go directly into the scriptures and show you guys from the scriptures only. But it's better to see that this slavery did not remain in the 6th century or 7th century or 8th century or 9th century or 10th century. It carried on. It carried on up till the 20th century. Hey, Salam Aran. Most of the trading of slaves were done by them. Aren't you guys shocked? I think you should be shocked. And instead of using any Islamic traditional document, let's go to the source, which is so very open and anybody can come up and refute, and yet they have not. So I'm gonna go to the wiki source. So I'm gonna show you how it was in Muhammad's time, and I'm going to show you how it was till the 20th century. The slavery in Saudi and eastern part of the world, Middle East, it declined after the Second World War. And in 1970, it became a law not to have slaves in certain part of the country. Like that's how problematic it is. And that is what it really is. Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire is the largest empire of Islam, as we know. Slavery was an essential part of it. Okay. They used to get slaves from East Africa and East Europe. Like this is all journal knowledge. I'm going to use some part of it before I'm going to go into Islamic tradition, Quran, and Ahadith. And about a fifth of the 16th and 17th century population consisted of slaves. There is so much slavery in the Ottoman Empire that almost a fifth of the population were slaves. Can you imagine that? Probably not. Nobody would have heard that. Or maybe some would have heard. 2.5 million slaves from 1435 to 1700. And this is the number that is counted because they have tax collected records, and there are records where you can collect the tax collection and all. Let me give you a detailed link. You can download this PDF whenever you feel like. It's in the chat. Download this PDF and you will actually have all the detail. I'm going to show some part of it as well later, but just keep this link with you and download it. 2.5 million slaves. Even after several messages to ban slavery in the late 19th century, the practice continued largely till the early 20th century. As late as 1908, female slaves were still sold in Ottoman Empire. Sex slavery was a central part of Ottoman slavery system. You know why sex slavery was a central part? Because it's in Quran. They are called Malakat al Yamin. They are the right hand possessed. And I'm going to show you that a little later. Number of Ottoman slaves class called Kul and Turkish and etc. etc. Let's forget this part. Let's go to a little early. Uh, Forget that part. You can read it later. Price and taxes. So each and every slave had prices and taxes that you have to buy. So it's not just when they fight and they have the slaves, it is also that they would sell the slaves for domestic purposes, you know, and it was so very common. It was so very common. The highest price was for European virgin girls between 13 to 25 of year of age or teenaged boys. This is history, guys. This is history. All of this is history. It's not me saying, it's everywhere. You guys can validate and verify. This is how they lived. Yes, Darcy, but this is not about slavery or Abadallah. It's about slavery to another human being. We are talking about slavery and selling humans. Okay, 65 to 150 ascetical gurus. See, between the lowest price was affordable to high income people, whatever, and they were sold pretty good. Uh, Recapture of runaway slave was a job of private individual called these. Whoever managed to find a way, slave would collect a fee of good news from etc expensive from slave owner etc. So if the slave ran away, there was a good people team who would go and collect them. Barbary slave trades. So Barbary pirates were very common. They would actually even provide slaves all the way to the US. Their whole purpose was to get the slaves from the African areas, northern African areas, all written, and they would provide them all the way to America and to Europe and to Ottoman Empire between 16th and 19th century. These pirates, this is their whole purpose. They were getting these things. Man, when you read this, Zinj slaves. So Zinj slaves were very popular, known as Zenj. These slaves originated from mainly African Great Lakes region as well as Central Africa. That's the area. And they are called Zenj slaves. So very basic level that you will find that black people were slaved by the sultans or all these people. Concubines, very common, we know that. Ottoman sex slavery is a whole long document. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to show you to begin with that it was not just in the 7th century, it was also a very common phenomena whatsoever. And then they would eunuch, you probably would read eunuch over here somewhere. uh Let me show you eunuch. So there were certain eunuchs. So the harem system of the Ottoman Empire tended to mimic the imperial harem many ways, including the sorcery harem, where the women were kept hidden away from the males that were outside of their own family. The guarding of the women were by black eunuchs. So you might have read that they would castrate the slaves, and that's why they would do that. Because why would they do that? Okay, let's go there. First, let's go there. Why would they even do that? This is Quran chapter number 24, verse number 31. They would castrate the slaves because of the Quran verse. Quran chapter number 24, verse number 31, it actually says very clearly, tell all the believing women to reduce of their vision, means lower their gaze, and guard their private parts, and not expose their adornment, except for which appears thereof, and to wrap even the portion of their head covers over their chest, and not expose their adornments, except to their husbands, their fathers, their husbands' fathers, their sons, their husband's son, their brother's son, their sister's son, their woman, which is slave woman, that which their right hand possess. So it explains also their woman which their right hand possess means slave woman, or those male attendants having no physical desire, eunuchs who has been castrated. So the male, if they are serving female, the male slaves, if they are serving females, they would not have their private part. They would remove that. They would simply remove that. So this is pure Quranic. And that has happened till the 19th century and early 20th century, guys. This is not old. That's what I'm trying to show you, that it is not old. It's new. It happened at the age of our grandfathers, even grandfathers, grandmothers. It's that new. So going back, you will see Zinj slaves. So Zinj slaves are also, but because they are poor people in the middle of Africa, they don't have any way to do anything. So they were mostly oppressed. Uh, yeah, where is it? Zinj slaves. So because they are black people living in the middle of Central Africa, they were pretty, and they say involved becoming one of the African eunuchs of the Ottoman palace. You see, those poor people who had less education, less knowledge, they were living in very confined area where they didn't had all the means to, and they were becoming eunuchs. The position was used as the political tool for Sultan Murad in 1574 and 1595 as an attempt to destabilize the guard. So basically these slaves were becoming more and more. Now Muslim ruler first time used them as fighters. They were now fighters as well. Previously they were just serving, now they were fighters as well. And Zinj were employed house for the household people as well. And by the way, Zinj, do you remember what Zinj is? If you guys remember, there is a verse in Quran where the sun is rising from, let me just open that. Oh, give me 1 second. So there is a verse in Quran where the sun is rising from the people whom Allah has given no shield upon them. So Allah did not provided any shield to those people. Hence, look what Jalalain is saying. So Jalalain is saying, until when he reached the rising place of the sun, the place where it rises, he found it rising on folks, namely called Negroes Zinj. So these are black people, and according to Jalalain, because the sun is too close to them, sun is rising right from there, so they are dark, so their skin is cooked. Like that's how silly. Like I don't know how do you believe this thing? Sun is rising from among the people whom Allah has provided no shield. Like seriously. But anyhow, that's not my topic. But I wanted to show you, even the early scholars know what Zinj area is and what are they called. And I didn't want you to use the N word, but it's just written. I'm just using it because I'm reading it, right? But like that's how derogatory it is when you go into it. And then you can actually read the Barbary slavery system. Like these people, these were slave trader Barbarians. They had ships and they would supply slaves from one location to another, and they would sell them. Okay. And you will find the whole article here. Let me post this article as well, and you guys can watch it and learn it. So let me now go to the PDF that I shared earlier. This is the PDF where you can actually see. This is the sale of the slave in the Ottoman Empire, market and state taxation on slave trades, some primarily considerations. So this is a very, very important article. And you will go into this article and you will see the purchase documents that they have given here with all the sources, that which type of slave was sold, what date, for how much amount. And everything is backed up in the citation down here. It's a very, very important document, whoever wants to study it further. So this document shows and collects the Ottoman Empire and their slavery system even till the 16th, 17th century, 18th century. That's how clear everything is. They rejected, somebody is saying they rejected. They can reject it. How can they reject it? The funny thing is they rejected and even accused Westerns of slavery. Dude, Western did slavery, fair enough. Fair enough, accuse us. Accuse, I'm not even a Western anyway, so accuse the Westerns. But does it matter? Yes. So now let's go into a hadith. Let's see slavery from Quran and hadith. Okay, so now let's go directly there. Let me share this document as well so that you guys can actually um download it, because I just showed some part of it. I want you guys to actually, whoever wants to do further study on it, to show how it is, you can actually watch it. All right, now let's go to Quran and Hadith. Quran chapter number 24, verse number 31. Like I showed you, the by the way, this was adornment in Sahih International. If you see Pechtal Khan, you know the word bosom. That's the proper word. The word is bosom. Okay, and it says that male attendants who lack vigor, that's where eunuchs came into being, and the woman or their slave, which is woman slaves, which the right hand possesses. So both type of women, male or female, both type of slaves are mentioned in Quran. Now maybe this verse will going to help you more. Quran chapter number 39, verse number 29. This is Quran chapter number 39, verse number 29. And where does it says? Allah presents an example, a man, i.e. slave, owned by a calling partner and other belonging exclusively to one man. Are they equal in comparison? So Allah is comparing and saying, is a slave equal to a free man? That's not me saying it. Quran chapter number 39, verse number 29. You see, guys, that's pure Islamic. That is pure Islamic. Okay, let's check another one. Maybe this will help you. And who guards their modesty? Okay, private part, basically. Private part. It's the ruler of Faraj. Li farujihim. Ruler of a Faraj. So now, Faraj, like I told you guys earlier, probably if you have seen my other videos, Faraj, if used for male, can be used for male or for female. Okay, the plural is farajuhum, right? The male, lifarujihim. Okay, now what do you accept from their wives or their right hand possess? Wa ala ajwajihim wama malakatil imanuhum, malakatil imanuhum, right hand possessed slave woman. So you can actually, so you know it's azwajihim, spouses, wives. So wife and slave clearly mentioned, because you can have sex with slave without marriage. Without marriage. No marriage is required for sex slave. That's how clear it is. You can let's when your right hand possesses it, it's yours. Bye bye. Now people actually come back and they say, yes, that is true, but our Prophet Muhammad never had slaves. Okay, this is the final narrative that they actually give you, and they say Muhammad never had slaves. He didn't had slave, and he never kept slaved. But because the slavery was a tradition, so it kind of went there. Okay, so let's see if Muhammad by himself had slaves or not. So this is my topic today now, because they can deny history, because they always deny history. Salam, one, it is equal to a ration of a 1 month of, uh, so a usual slave would be sold for a ration equal to the ration of 1 month of lamb meat. 1 month of lamb meat. So that's what it is. You can actually check it out on the article that I sent you. All right. So Muhammad having slaves. Allah Messenger, this is Sahih Bukhari 6161. Allah Messenger was on a journey and he had a black slave called Anjasha. And he was driving the camel. So who had the black slave? Is it like, can it be any more clear? That's what it says. Can it be any more clear? No, right? So Allah Messenger had a black slave called Anjashi. Okay, let me give you another one. Maybe that one isn't still clear. Let's go to another one. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 7263. I came and behold, who came? Umar. Umar came to who? To Muhammad. Allah Messenger place. Okay, was staying at Mashruba, attic room, and a black slave of Allah Messenger was at the top of the stair. So now Allah Messenger's driver was Anjashi, a camel driver. Then he had a slave at his home as well, who is working for him and doing stuff for him. This is once again Sahih al-Bukhari 7263. And they say Muhammad never had slaves. Right? How would that be? How would that be? And then we can actually read another one. There are so many that I don't know if I will be able to cover it in today's live stream. I'm kind of running pretty fast. So this is Sahih al-Bukhari 6707. Okay, etc, 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 etc. Okay, the man called Rafi'a bin Zaid from the tribe of Bani Adwabi presented a slave named Midyam to Allah Apostle. So Muhammad even received slaves as gifts, token of appreciation as gift. Okay, Logan is saying many Muslims try to justify Islamic slavery by saying it's not as bad as Christian slavery. Dude, there is nothing called Christian slavery. Number one, whoever in Christianity, whoever did the slavery or slave trading, he is going against biblical commandments. First Timothy chapter number 1, verse number 8 to 11. It says, we know that the law is good if one of us uses properly. We also know the law is made not for the righteous, but for the lawbreakers and rebels, the ungodly and sinful, the unholy and irreligious, for those who kill their fathers and mothers, for murderers, for sexual immorals, for those who practicing homosexuality, for slave traders. You see, slave trader is with what type of people? Homosexuals, murderers, killer of father and mothers, irreligious, unholy, sinful. So in that category, slave traders are in that same category. That is First Timothy chapter number 1, verse number 8 to 11. So number one, there is nothing called uh, Christian slavery. Secondly, now that we have seen that Muhammad received the gifts as slave as well, we can go to this one. Now, you want to see what a slave is in Islam? Check this out. Okay, so now, because I was showing the verses where Muhammad had slaves, not somebody else having slaves. If you look at somebody else having slaves, check this out, Logan. Logan, be here. Don't go. Read this. Ibn Abbas narrated that a blind man had a pregnant slave. You know what they call pregnant slave? They call them Ummul Walad. This is the Arabic word, Ummul Walad. So if you have a slave, female slave that you had sex with, and you uh, and she bore you a child, they are called Ummul Walad. They are still not given the respect of a wife. They are still not given the respect of a wife. They are called Ummul Walad. Okay. Now, Walad means child. Means mother, mother of a child. So he's saying that this lady already had a child. That is why she's called Ummul Walad, who used to abuse the Messenger Allah. Means she would say things uh, about Prophet Muhammad. Because why would she be so mad at Prophet Muhammad? Because Prophet Muhammad gave this blind guy her as a slave for sex, right? So she would say certain bad things about this prophet, right? And defame him. The blind man forbade her, but she did not stop. One night she began to slander Muhammad. Means Muhammad is in his own home. She's here. She's slandering or defaming him because he, the prophet, gave her as a malakat al yamin to this blind man, and blind man is playing with her every day without marriage, and she is bearing children to him as well, and she is cooking for him, she is cleaning for him, she is doing everything for him, right? So she is supposed to be mad, she is supposed to say these kind of things, right? So he took an axe, placed it on her belly, pressed it, and killed her. Did you guys get what she did? He did. She's a pregnant slave. He took an axe, put it on the belly, pressed it, and killed her. He did not just kill her, he killed the baby in her belly as well. Now look, he did two killing. This blind guy did two killing at the same time. Look what Muhammad said. The messenger of Allah was told about it, and thereupon he said, "O people, be witness. No dhaya is to be paid for the blood." So there is no retaliation, no nothing, no dhaya, no money for the retaliation of this guy because she was her slave or because she is doing blasphemy against Muhammad. Pick anyone, or rather pick both of them. This is slavery. And that's not me saying, these are the ahadith saying. This is Sahih. This is Sahih. This is Sahih. Right? I'm not saying that. They are saying that. This is in Abu Dawood as well. This is in Bukhari as well. Let me read another one. Here it actually says, who had Ummul Walad, right? Who had Ummul Walad. And this hadith also says, by whom he had two sons. This is Sunan an-Nisai 4070. So this hadith is a longer hadith I didn't show you earlier, But like now that we are going into this subject, so she bore two sons to this blind man already, and she was Ummul Walad. She was a slave given to him as a booty. And same thing shows the same thing, except instead of an axe here it says dagger, which I thrusted into her stomach and landed upon it and killed her. So now this pregnant woman, a dagger or an axe, that's the only difference between the two ahadith. But there are multiple chain of narration showing the same thing in Bukhari, in Sunan an-Nisa'i, and everything. He killed it. And Muhammad, what did Muhammad said? Messenger of Allah said, I bear witness the blood is permissible. Man, that's how simple it is. That's how simple it is. So going back, now you know the slavery of Islam, and now I have already shown you the eunuchs, which is Quranically described why they do the eunuchs. Why do they castrate, if I'm pronouncing the word right, uh, these male guys? Man, this is, that's why I do these particular streams, because we need to show them exactly what is happening and where it is happening. Check this out. Aisha is sick, okay, and Aisha is sick, and Muhammad is sending Aisha to his father's house. So he sent a slave with me when I entered the house. So Muhammad has been using slaves all his life. Aisha was married with Muhammad in the last 9 years or 10 years of his life, right? And you see, he is using slaves to send Aisha to his father's home, when she is sick. And this is when it is happening. Uh, okay, maybe we can read the narration later. But like the whole thing is, all his life he had slaves. And then this is like, people might be saying, "Hey, this is the same slave." No, it's not the same slave. Muhammad had black slave girls as well. Okay, we can see that in Sunan Abi Dawood 332. Okay, let's see that. Sunan Abi Dawood 332, and it says, Messenger of Allah, he said, "O Abu Dahr, I kept silence." He said, "May your mother brave you, Abu Dahr. Woe to be your mother." He then called a black slave girl for me. She brought a vessel which contained water. So Muhammad had a handmaiden, a slave who was a female, who brought a vessel containing water. YP, about Bilal, go find me a hadith from the narrations of Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih al-Muslim, Sunan ibn Majah, Sunan ibn Dawood, Sunan ibn Nisa'i that Muhammad freed Bilal. You will not find any. You will find it in a much later sources. In the early sources, you will find Muhammad saying to Abu Bakr, "Oh, if you bought me for Allah, free me. If you bought me for yourself, then you can keep me." You will not find freeing of Bilal. You will find buying of Bilal. You will not find freeing of Bilal. By the way, if you can find it, maybe you could find it. I couldn't find it. So that's how it is. Muhammad was never freed. That's what I know. Was he freed? Nobody knows. Muslim claims that they were free. He was freed. Maybe they'll bring you a da'if hadith for that, but it's not there in Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, or Sunnah ibn Dawood. I can't find it. So that's about Bilal. Anyhow, so Muhammad even had slave girl. What's the age of that slave girl? Don't know, but she was black. You will see most of the slaves as black. Amazing, right? This is what, like fifth hadith that I'm showing, or sixth, where slaves. Then let's see. People say uh, that Muhammad did everything by his own hands. When his clothes get torn, he would tailor them himself. He would do this, he would do that. Check this out. Sahih al-Bukhari 5433. Messenger Allah went to the house of, there's nothing called house of. He went to his slave tailor. Muhammad went to his slave tailor. For what? Tailor, dude. Tailor, the one who makes his clothes. Guys, that's what it is. And by the way, YP, you know what happened with Bilal when Muhammad died? That's a very, very important thing. It's not my subject, but like it just came into my mind today, right now, because of reading Bilal. He said, I'm not going to do any adhan because Muhammad died. I am so saddened. I can't even, I can't even adhan. I can't even recite adhan. And they say that because he was so saddened, he can't even recite adhan anymore. You know, adhan, the call of the prayer, the Fajr, Zuhur, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, the 5 times the Bilal had to give adhan. He's like, finally, he's dead. Thank God. Now I don't have to wake up early morning and do the adhan early morning loud out loud in the top of my voice. And he's like, I'm so sad. I just simply cannot do adhan because Muhammad died. You know, that's how they say. That's how that it is written. But like imagine he passed away. Now Bilal can't even do adhan because he was so sorrowful. Like seriously. Anyhow, going back to our subject. Slave tailor. Where is Muhammad doing things by his own hands? Come on, who has to show me that? He was a guy who would do everything by his own. He has a slave girl, black slave girl in her home, attending to Aisha. He had a slave camel driver. He had a slave who's working for him in his home as a black slave man. He had a slave girl. What else? Okay, let's see what else. Muhammad did slave trading as well. What does Bible says about slave trading? I showed you First Timothy, right? And and there are so many hadiths on that. Let me just, instead of going to one particular hadith, because there are so many, so let's go read few. A slave pledged to Prophet Muhammad to immigrate, and Prophet did not realize that he was slave. The master came looking for him. The Prophet said, sell him to me, and he bought him for 2 black slaves. So Muhammad had so many slaves that he was buying slaves by giving slaves. He was buying slaves for giving slaves. Imagine that. He didn't pay him money. He gave him 2 black slaves. Check this out. How many narrations are there? So many of them. Just go to sunnah.com and write, and he bought him for 2 black slaves. And you will see so many of them in exchange of 2 black slaves. So if he had to denounce slave trading, this was the right time to denounce slave trading, but rather say, okay, sell me this guy for 200 dinars, 400 dinars, 1,000 dinar, whatever, X amount of money. But what did he do? He gave him. So if slaves were treated really nicely by Muhammad, by giving slaves to somebody else, he is he's removing that nice part whatsoever. Why can't he just pay him the money? He's selling them, he's buying them, he's accepting them as gifts as well. And then he's making slaves as well when he's going into war. Malakat al-Yamin. So let's read another one. Rather, let's then people actually say that yes, there was slavery there, but when Islam came, Islam said free slaves. Okay, let's free slaves. Let's look at freedom of slavery, rather freeing of slavery. Check this out, guys. Be very careful. These are very important things. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 2415. A man manumitted a slave means he freed a slave, and he had no other property than that. So the Prophet cancelled the manumission. What did Prophet do? What did Prophet do? He cancelled the manumission and sold the slave for him. And who bought it? Al-Naham bought the slave from him. If Muhammad is supposed to nullify slavery, at least when somebody is freeing the slave, that is the time he can actually say, okay, that's good, that's good, this is the time you did the right thing, finally this is going good. But no, he cancelled the slavery and sold him to another person. Check this out. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 2534. It says, a man among us declared his slave would be freed after his death. Now the guy died. The Prophet called for that slave and sold him. The slave died the same year. So 1 year, either he was brutally beaten by the other guy who bought him and he died, or maybe he died a natural death. But 1 year that he uh, might have had for freedom, he couldn't have it because of Muhammad. Because of Muhammad. He also took Middle Eastern Christians. Yes, he took everyone as slave. So Christian, Jews, whatever. If we fight, if Muslim go out and fight, everyone is a Malakat al-Yamin. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So whoever is fighting with you and you lose the battle, they become Malakat al-Imanukum, right? Yeah, Irene. But like he didn't even let that happen. Did he let that happen? No. Okay. We can even see another narration. You will enjoy this one as well. Look, Muhammad is so merciful, guys. Come on. Don't be Islamophobe. Please don't be. A man had 6 slaves. Sunan ibn Majah 2345. Sunan ibn Majah 2345. A man had 6 slaves. He did not have any other wealth apart from them, and he set them free when he died. He's like, when I die, you guys are free. He might have wrote some paper. Hey, when I die, you guys are free, right? The Messenger of Allah divided them into groups. He set 2 free and left 4 as slave. Imagine that. Awesome. Thank you. Rahmatal lil Alameen. He actually made 2 free out of 6. Rahmatal lil Alameen. Guys, come on. Don't be Islamophobe. He did set 2 free. This is what you call Rahma, mercy. I don't know how and where they read these things, because they don't read. You know what? They accept whatever their so-called scholars are saying. They accept whatever their so-called scholars are saying. Check this out. I'm going to show you another one. What should happen to a runaway slave? What should happen to a runaway slave? If a slave run away, no salah, salah, prayer, will be accepted for him from him. And if he dies, he will die a disbeliever. A slave of Gerar ran away. He caught him and struck his neck. So a runaway slave, I showed you from the wiki page, they actually had a full group whose purpose was to capture the runaway slave. And then they would beat them or kill them. You can read in the history. But this is Hadith. Gerar is narrating from the Prophet Muhammad, and he is saying he killed him because he ran away. And that's, and then somebody said, this is da'if, this is da'if. Allah, astaghfirullah, this is sahih. I do not show any da'if hadith. Remember that. Every hadith that I'm showing is sahih. Every hadith that I'm showing is sahih. So hadith is making them obedient. Then even if they run away, no matter what, whether you beat them or not beat them. By the way, I'm going to go and beating of the slavery as well. So let me just slowly go there. May Allah be pleased with the messenger. So we can actually see another very nice thing that Muhammad did to slaves. Read this very carefully and you will tell me where the problem is in this hadith. Okay. Yahya related to me from Malik ibn Shahab, right? What did he say? A woman from Hudayl tribe threw a stone at a woman from the same tribe and she had a miscarriage. Guys, read what happened. One woman of a tribe threw a stone at another woman who was pregnant and she had a miscarriage. Okay. What is the penalty? Read that. The messenger of Allah, may Allah bless him and give him peace, gave a judgment. Wow. Judgment of Muhammad, the most merciful prophet, that a slave or a slave girl of fair complexion shouldn't be black, should not be black, should be fair complexion, and excellence should be given to her. Dude, that's awesome, right? One woman had a miscarriage of a baby because the other woman threw a stone. So the woman who threw a stone, rather than punishing her, she's supposed to give a slave girl of a fair complexion and excellence. But like if a woman or a child would steal a bread, cut his hand. You steal a bread, your hand should be cut. But if you kill a baby in the mother's womb by throwing stone, you have to give a slave girl of fair complexion and excellence. And you guys have to come and tell me, hey, Islam abolished slavery? Where? How? When? When Muhammad died? No, I showed you. It was there till the 20th century. When did Islam abolish slavery? Oh, when the West abolished slavery, then it happened. The West abolished slavery, then yes. Now I got it. Come on. Islamophobes, you don't know anything. Okay, we can go to another one. This is really good as well, because here Muhammad is talking to his own gifts. The chapter of gifts. The chapter of gifts. Sahih al-Bukhari, chapter of gifts. narrated by the wife of Prophet that she manumitted her slave girl. Who freed the slave girl? The wife of Prophet. The wife of Prophet. What is her name? Maimuna. So Maimuna, the wife of Prophet, freed her slave girl, and the Prophet said to her, "You should have got more reward if you had given the slave girl to one of your maternal uncles." Wow. And you tell me that Islam abolished slavery when Prophet Muhammad, may Allah be pleased with him, is saying that instead of freeing a slave to his wife, that it would have been better and you would have given more reward from Allah if you would have given that slave girl to one of your maternal uncle. It says ajran azima or azim al ajr. Okay, you would have gotten more reward if you would have given it to your uncle. Where is the freeing the slave? Where is the freeing of the slave? Guys, you see what I'm saying? No, what is written, not what I'm saying. You don't need to see what I am saying. You need to see what it is written. You know? Okay. You know how do they get slave? This is about Safiya as well. I like how Safiya was taken by Muhammad. And Muslim come up and say, "Hey, Muhammad marries Safiya. Muhammad married Safiya." If you read about Safiya, you will see her husband was brutally killed by Muhammad because he knew where the Jewish uh, treasure was. Okay, so and then that Safiya, let's read about Safiya first, then I will give you the story. Allah Messenger offered Fajr prayer when it was still dark. Then he rode and said, "Allah Akbar! Khaybar is ruined." When we approach near to the nation, the most unfortunate is the mourning of those who had been warned. The people came out into the street saying, "Muhammad and his army." Allah Messenger vanquished them by force. What did he do? Kill them. And their warriors were killed. The children and women were taken as captive. Safiya was taken by Dhaya, and later she belonged to Allah Prophet who married her. What did Muhammad do? He captured the women and children as slaves. As slaves. And let's look at another narrative of this particular uh, hadith, how Muhammad is giving away slaves like carrots and then taking them back. Same story, different narrator. Sunan Ibn Dawood 2998. Anas said captives were gathered at Khaybar. So now Khaybar is ruined, killed all the people, captives were gathered. Dhaya came out and said, "Apostle of Allah, give me a slave girl from the captives." He said, "Go, take a slave girl." So, even if you go to a market, you have to pay some money, right? Muhammad was like, "Go take a slave girl, go." It's like carrots, there are free carrots placed over there. You go and take her. You go and take her. Yes, Muhammad was always like when it comes to slaves, women were the most oppressed. I will do a live stream on rights of women soon. I think I have to. Thanks for reminding me, Forestry. I'll do one for that. So he took Safiya, daughter of Huyaya. A man then came to Prophet and said, "You gave Safiya's daughter? You gave Safiya, daughter of Huyaya, chief lady of Quraiza? What did you do?" You gave this kind of a noble lady to Dhaya, a normal guy from Al Nadir. What did you do, Prophet Muhammad? What did you do? You don't even know that. This is according to the version of Yaqub. Then the agreed version goes, she's worthy of you. So he's saying she's worthy of you, not to Dhaya. Come on, get her back. He said, call him along with her. When the Prophet took her, he said to him, take another slave girl from the captive. Go, take another slave girl. This is for me. Take another, go, take another one. Doesn't matter. This is for me. Go take another one. I'm the Prophet. She belongs to me. Go take another one. And there are other hadiths where it says that Muhammad took her into his khaima, his tent, and everybody was thinking whether she will be married to Muhammad or she will remain as a sex slave. So people were saying if he gives hijab to Safiya the next morning, then she is the wife. Otherwise, she is the slave. And next day he gave the hijab. And there are later stories which tells us that Safiya accepted it because like she's like, I'm noble, marry me. Otherwise, I'm gonna kill myself or whatever. There are multiple things on that, but it doesn't matter. What matters is he was giving away slaves like carrots, and then he kept one slave for himself. And then yes, there are certain slaves for himself as well. But once again, what is he doing? And you are telling me Muhammad freed slaves? He's giving away slaves like carrots. He's trading slaves. He had slaves in his house all his life. I don't know where else, how many other I have to show you. You know, we can actually go to Sahih al-Bukhari as well. And the same story is there in Sahih al-Bukhari. Let me open that one. Same story with a little more narration. Khaybar, Fajr prayer, etc., etc. The Prophet passed through the lane of Khaybar quickly, and my knee was touching the thigh of the Prophet. He uncovered his thigh, and I saw the whiteness of the thigh of Prophet. I don't know why this is in this hadith. Like it has nothing to do with this hadith, but like why did Muhammad? Why when Abdul Aziz is this is the guy Abdul Aziz who's narrating his his thigh, his knee touched the Prophet Muhammad's thigh, and Prophet Muhammad uncovered his thigh. Like why would he do that? Unless think of your own imagination. Okay, I'm not going to say that, otherwise they'll say Islamophobe. But like why would you even describe that, and why would he even uncover his thigh? This is Sahih al-Bukhari 371. Like man. When he entered the town he said, Allahu Akbar, Khaybar is ruined. Same story, right? Whenever we approach near a hostile nation to fight, then the evil will be in the morning, etc., etc. He reported it thrice. The people came out of their jobs, and some of them said, Muhammad. Some of our companions added with his army. We conquered Khaybar, took the captives, and the booty was collected. Took the captives, and the booties were collected. Dhaya came and said, Oh Allah Prophet, give me a slave girl from the captives. Imagine, like, give me a slave girl. It was a normal thing. Come on. Give me a slave girl, Prophet Muhammad. Go and take away any slave girl. He took Safiya binti Huyya. Same story, same story, same story. And then he said, take any other slave girl other than from the captive. The Prophet then manumitted the marriage, manumitted her and married her. Now, what did Prophet pay her in meher? So he didn't pay her anything in meher. He said herself was her meher. So a meher is some amount of money that you have to pay for your wife, to your wife, when you marry in Islamic tradition. He didn't pay anything. He's like, I'm going to get you free. That's your meher. Go have fun. While on the way, Suleiman dressed her for marriage, and at night she sent her a bride to Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet was a bridegroom, he said, whosoever anything should bring in. He spread out the leather sheet and etc. 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 Nothing. Yes, he married her. I have no issue. But like, he's giving away slaves. That's what I'm showing. Now, let's see how Muhammad was enjoying slaves as well. Okay. Uh, okay. Check this out. Sahih al-Bukhari 987. On the day of Mina, 11th, 12th, and 13th, Abu Bakr came to her while two young girls were beating a tambourine. So it's a musical instrument. By the way, musical instrument is haram, but Prophet Muhammad and Aisha are enjoying the musical instrument played by young girls. Okay. Prophet was laying covered with his clothes. So I don't know why it is specifically said covered with clothes, but fair enough. Abu Bakr scrolled them, and Prophet uncovered his face and said to Abu Bakr, "Leave them, for these days are the days of Eid and the days of Mina." Aisha further said, "Oh, once the Prophet was screening me, I was watching the display of a black slave in the mosque. Umar scrolled them. The Prophet says, 'Leave them, O Bani Adefa. Carry on. You are safe and protected.'" So Aisha is enjoying, so Muhammad is enjoying looking at Aisha while Aisha is watching the display of a black slave. So you see, it's a music movie scene, when a guy is gazing on a woman while the woman is enjoying a slave dancing in front of him or her or doing whatever. I don't know, they didn't say what, but it says display of the black slave in the mosque. So whatever the black slave was displaying, whatever, Aisha is enjoying looking at him while Muhammad is staring at Aisha. Like, does that, like, man, like, forget, like, I wanted to show slavery, but like some of these slavery things are so unbelievably, man. But Momo had so many black slaves for history. I showed already. He just had so many black slaves. Yes. uh, 2106. Yes. Leech. Let me just say that your name is too big for me to pronounce, man. I don't know how I can pronounce that. So yeah, he forgets. Like that's there are a lot of them. By the way, your face scares me. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening everywhere. Like now, if somebody does it, they say he is what do you call radical Muslim. So up till First World War, it was not radical. It was a norm. Now it become a radical Muslim. No, it's in all of your ahadiths. It's in Quran. I've started with Quran. The people who are listening to me since the start, I started from Quran. That's how it is. And and then we can actually go forward. Like it's not done yet. You know, Muhammad said, like, he was very precise on slavery. He was very, very precise. He's like, there is no zakat on a horse and a slave. He was very, very precise. You know, when you actually give the ordinance or the law, then it means it's legalized. Allah Messenger said there is no zakat either on a horse or a slave belonging to a Muslim. Even though this is very derogatory that a slave, a human, is equal to a horse. But once again, the main purpose of showing this is uh, uh, the main purpose of showing this is it's an ordinance that Muhammad is giving. Even though that he has compared a slave with a horse, that's another problem. But that's an ordinance of zakat. Zakat is one of the five pillars of Islam, right? And it's obligatory to give zakat. And Muhammad is saying slave doesn't have to pay zakat. So it's an ordinance, you know. Yeah, even though humans and horses are in same category for Muhammad. But look at the other side. What I'm trying to show is the ordinance. This is the ordinance, and this is not like ABCD hadith. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 1463. You know, and then people say slave flogging, slave beating is haram. That's also not true. There are multiple narrations on it, but let's look at this one. Prophet said, none of you should flog his wife. None of you should flog his wife as he flogs a slave, and then have sexual intercourse with her in the last part of the day. So you should flog your wife less than a slave. Do you see the problem over here? Lydia, you are saying humans and horses together. If you look at it, Muhammad equated woman, a donkey, and a black dog in same category, because if they pass in front of a guy who's offering prayer, his prayer is nullified. So yeah, I'm sorry to all the ladies over here, but that's how unfortunate it is. But anyhow, Prophet is saying none of you should flog his wife as he flogs a slave and then have sexual intercourse in the last part of the day. This is Sahih al-Bukhari 5204. And you know, when it comes to black slaves, things go in a very different tangent. Okay, I've shown you earlier as well. I think let me finish, and let's go to Quran now and finish. I think the video is getting too long, but I wanted to show enough evidences. This is Quran chapter number 16, verse number 75. Allah presents an example: a slave owned and unable to do anything, and he to whom we have provided from us good provision, so he spends from it secretly and publicly. Can any be equal? Can they be equal? Allah is asking you guys by presenting an example. Can a slave owned by a master and a master, can they be equal? Pick up any tafsir on that. I don't like, no issue. Any tafsir. They will say the same thing. See, Allah by himself is saying a free man and a slave is not equal. It's all there. And then if we go to the verse number 71, because that's the context of it, it says, and Allah has favored some of you over others in provision, but those who feared would not hand over their provision to those whom their right hand possesses, i.e. slaves. So they would be equal to therein? Question mark. You know, I don't know how many I have to give examples from Quran and Ahadith for you guys to understand that this is not a true religion. You need to come out of it. I've done many live streams, and I challenge each and every Muslim on the face of the planet to reject me. Literally, I challenge each and every Muslim on the face of the planet to reject me, what I'm showing. Reject it. Prove it. Come give me the refutation. Prove me wrong. But they cannot. This is what the reality is. You know, this is literally what the reality is. There is another hadith that I can go to, very important. Man, look what is happening over here. The book of suckling, chapter 9. It is permissible to have intercourse with a female captive after it is established that she is not pregnant. And if she has a husband, then her marriage is annulled when she is captured. This is the chapter heading, guys. This is the chapter heading. It is permissible to have intercourse with a female captive after it is established that she is not pregnant, number one. Number two, and if she has a husband, her marriage is nullified because now the Muslims have captured her. And that it says, Sahih Muslim 1456a, it says, Battle of Hunaina, Allah Messenger sent an army to Atos and encountered the enemy and fought with them. Having overcome them and taken the captives, the companion of Allah Messenger seemed to refrain from having intercourse with the captive woman because of their husbands being polytheist. So Muslims said their husbands are polytheists, that is why they tried to remain away from having raping those women. Then Allah Most High sent down the verse regarding, and women are already married except their whom right hand possess, i.e. they are lawful to you when their idda period has come to end. So if they are not pregnant, if they have husbands and they are not pregnant, go have sex with them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yes, I have shown the other verse. I have shown this hadith already, brother. I think you were pretty late. I've shown this. So, so this is the reality of the situation, right? And when this particular verse of Quran hasn't been revealed, this is what was saying. There are multiple narrations on that. Chapter number Book of Marriage and Sahih Muslim 1439. Jabir reported to a man coming to Allah Messenger said, I have a slave girl who is our servant as well. She carries water for us and I had sexual intercourse with her. What? Excuse me? You have a slave girl who's your servant. She carries water and you had sexual intercourse with her. But I do not want her to conceive. He said, I practice azal. Azal is a specific word where you do sexual intercourse, but you take your private part out before ejaculating. I'm sorry, I'm just giving the translation of what azal is. If you so like, but what is the decree for her will come to her? The person stayed back and then came and said, the girl has become pregnant. Whereupon he said, I told you what was decree for her would come to her. So Muhammad said, whatever is decree for her, it will come. Don't matter whether you do azal or not. He didn't say don't have sex with her. It's a slave girl. How is it a sex? It's a rape. It's rape. It's raping. You know, there is another thing called hummus. You know, you know what is hummus? Anybody know what hummus is? Anyone can tell me what hummus is? No one? So hummus is the specific amount of money, 1/5 amount of money that you have to pay to the prophet or the nobles or the sayyids, depending on whether you are Shia or Sunni. It's different, but it's a specific money for the people. Hummus, Khums, hummus. Prophet sent Ali to Ali to bring the hummus from the booty. So 1/5 should go to Muhammad, right? That's the hummus. And I hated Ali. Who hated Ali? Budaira. So there's a guy Budaira who didn't like Ali. And Prophet sent Ali to collect the hummus of the booty. Okay, booty from the war. So collected booty from the war. He wanted the humus out of it. The 20% goes to Muhammad, right? And Ali Muhammad. And Budaira didn't like Ali. And Ali had taken a bath after sexual act with a slave girl from the humus. So humus included slave girls. They were supposed to come to Muhammad. But while taking the slave girl back to Muhammad in Medina, Ali had sexual intercourse with her or her or hers. I don't know how many, right? I said to Khalid, don't you see this? When we reached to Prophet Muhammad, I mentioned to him, he said, oh Budaira, do you hate Ali? I said, yes. He said, do you hate him? For he deserves more than that from the Khumus. Hallelujah. Jao, go have fun. Take a chill pill. Ali deserved more. If he had raped one girl, he could have raped like all four of them or five of them or whatever. Yeah, not humus. Humus is you eat. Humus is 1/5 that portion that goes to Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Yeah, XYZ. It's not humus, buddy. It's hummus because that's you see what's happening with the hummus. You don't want to eat hummus. Man, seriously speaking. And then you say, now the last of the very last, I'm gonna show you this. And we will go into Quran verse and we'll end this. Uh, then because what is left right now? What is left right now? What is left is Prophet Muhammad himself never had sex with slave. So let's finish this as well. It was narrated from Anas that Messenger of Allah had a female slave with whom he had sexual intercourse. Sunan an-Nisa'i 3959. But Aisha and Hafsa would not leave him alone until he said that he was forbidden for him. Then Allah, the Mighty and Sublime, revealed, O Prophet, why do you forbid yourself that which Allah has allowed you until the end of the verse? I will go to this verse as well. But like, imagine this. Muhammad having sex on the bed of Hafsa with a slave girl of Hafsa, which was given as a gift. She is not even a Malakat al Yamin. Guys, this is Sahih. Nothing that I have shown today that is not Sahih. Everything that I have shown today is Sahih. By the way, this is referring to Quran chapter number 66, verse number 1. Let's go there. 66:1. And it says, this is very good. O Prophet, why do you prohibit what Allah has made lawful for you, seeking the approval of your wives? And Allah is all forgiving and merciful. So Muhammad, you shouldn't seek approval of your wife at all. You should not. Okay, because like let's see. Let's see if I can show you tafsir of this verse. Let's look at it. Oh God, open the eyes of these people, man. Seriously. O Prophet, why do you prohibit what God has made lawful for you in terms of your Coptic handmaiden Maria? When he laid with her in the house of Hafsa, who has been away, but who upon returning and finding out became upset by the fact that this has taken place in her own house and on her own bed, by saying she is unlawful for me, seeking by making her unlawful for you to please your wife, right? You shouldn't. And God is forgiving, merciful, having forgiven you. This is the basic standard narrative, you know, basic. You can't run away from these. Okay. And if you actually read it, let's read it in Asbabul Nazul. It will show you a more bigger story. The messenger of black peace entered the house of Hafsa along with the mother of his son Maria. When Hafsa found him with her in an intimate moment, she said, "Why did you bring her in my house? You did this to me to exception of all your wives only because I am too insignificant to you." He said to her, "Do not mention this to Aisha. She is forbidden for me." Maria Muhammad was so scared of Hafsa and Aisha. She's like, "Hafsa, Hafsa, Hafsa, don't tell it to Aisha. Do not tell it to Aisha, you know. Do not tell this to Aisha, okay? I will not touch her. I forbid myself. She is forbidden for me. The Maria is forbidden for me. If I ever touch her, I will not touch her, Hafsa. Don't tell it to Aisha, please. Please don't do that." Hafsa said, "How could she be forbidden for you when she is your slave girl?" He swore to tell her that he will not touch her. And he said, "Do not mention this incident to anyone." But she went ahead and informed Aisha. The Prophet, bless him, give him peace, decided not to go to his wife for a month. He stayed away from them he stayed away from them 29 days. When Allah glorious exalted is he revealed to Prophet Muhammad. So Muhammad was not even going to his wife, these two wives, because of this incident. Because why did you tell this to Aisha? Imagine that. Yeah, which of your oh my goodness. Like if you see these things, you still believe Quran is ever written on the Lohal Mahfuz before the even world was created? Now let's look the next verse. This is even more interesting. Um, Allah has already ordained for you the dissolution of your oath. Nothing Muslim. Allah is talking to Muhammad. And Allah is your protector. He is all knowing and wise. Now let's go to the next one. And remember when the Prophet confined to one of his wife a statement, and when she informed another of it, Allah showed it to him. He made known parts of it and ignored a part. When he informed her about it, she said, "Who told you this?" He said, "I was informed by knowing and aware." Okay. And then Allah is saying, if two repent to Allah, for your hearts have deviated, but if you cooperate against him, means the Prophet, then indeed Allah is his protector, and Jibrail, and the righteous of the believer, and the angels, moreover, are in assistance. So imagine two women, two wives of one guy had a fight. Allah will have to send himself as his protector, and the Jibrail, all the righteous believers, and all the angels for assistance of a man who had an argument with his two wives on having sexual intercourse. And this is written in the divine book of Allah as a guidance for all mankind. Do you see the situation? Four verses, four verses, 1, 2, 3, 4, describing this, ending at that all the Muslimin, angels, Allah Himself, then indeed Allah Himself, like what kind of a God is He? That He Himself has to protect him, yet He alone cannot protect him. And He has to say angels and all the righteous believers and everyone. Like, if you still cannot understand this, I don't know when and how you guys will you be able to understand this. Guys, this is so very important, billions of followers. But you know what the narrative is given to them? They are given a very false narrative and they run along with that narrative. That's the problem. That is the problem, that these poor guys have to run along with that narrative because this is what is given to them, you know, unfortunately. So I'm going to now give you let me go to, I'm going to do ending on what I responded to loggers, Logan. Okay, Bible Hub. Okay, anybody who is a King James lover, I am sorry. King James is too difficult for me to read, not an English speaker. We know that the law is good if one uses it properly. We also know that the law is made not for the righteous, but for the lawbreakers and rebels. So, what is law made for? It's made for lawbreakers and rebels, the ungodly and the sinful, the unholy and irreligious, for those who kill their fathers or mothers, for murderers, for sexual immorals, for those practicing homosexuality, for slave traders and liars and perjurers. Slave traders, sexual immorals, slave traders, sexual immorals are ungodly and sinful and unholy. And forever whoever else is contrary to the sound doctrine of what? Of our Lord Jesus Christ, that conforms to the gospel concerning the glory of the blessed God which he entrusted to me. Who is writing this? Who's writing? Paul, who's writing this letter to Timothy, and he is describing this. Yet do we have to, and we have seen not one, not two, not 10. I think I showed you 20 different ahadith. I don't know, I lost count when I was reading, showing, and multiple Quranic verses. And First Timothy chapter number 1, let me share the link. First Timothy chapter number 1, verse number 8 to 11. And this is the sound doctrine. This is the sound doctrine. And it tells us that sexual immoralities are wrong. They are ungodly. They are sinful. Slave trading is wrong. They are ungodly and sinful. You know, that's the sound doctrine that was given versus what we have seen. And you guys have seen as well. So today we didn't have Muslims, but before I go, I will tell each and every one of you, if you have a Muslim who you are talking to and he does not accept what he is saying, or he says that you are wrong, or he says I am wrong, bring him to me. I have an open challenge to every Muslim in the whole wide world, not just to Indonesia, everyone. I have done so many live streams. Maybe there are hundred of them at least now. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong or get out of deception. Allahu khairul makarin. That's what Allah said himself. So now today we destroyed the narrative of Muhammad abolishing slavery. This was a narrative given every time that Muhammad abolished slavery, which is so wrong. And we have seen that today with authentic proofs of the time of Muhammad up till the 20th century. And what does the Bible say? So if they bring up that Christians did slavery as well, slave trading as well, they were sinners. Bible said so. They were sinners. Any Christian who did the slave trading according to the sound doctrine, they were sinner. So say that Muhammad is a sinner as well. Leave him. He gave sinful teaching. Leave him. They will not. They will only accuse Westerns did slavery. Okay, so is Muhammad equal to that Western who did the slavery? Perfect. He was a sinner, so is Muhammad. He'll burn in hell, so is Muhammad. Right? If not, This is Bible. I go by the Bible. I go what is written in the book. I don't care who XYZ is then, right? Is he Western, Eastern, doesn't matter, right? And most of the slaves that were brought to United States, like I have shown you, were done by the Barbary pirates, the Muslim Barbary pirates. They were collecting them. They were giving it over here. They were selling them. That's also a fact. Yes, these Westerns were buying it. I'm not saying they're not buying it, but Barbaries were the ones who were taking the zinj from the Central Africa and getting it all the way there, even to Europe. That's also a reality. So it, at the end of the day, it was allowed. That's the problem. Why I was showing Quran, why I was showing ahadiths, because it's allowed. And even if you go to the later ahadiths, not the early ones, a little later ahadiths, because I usually do not go to the later ahadiths, I stick to the early ones, which is already 300 to 500 years after the death of Muhammad anyways. You will see the narrative of how they select the slaves as well, like the dress code of slave as well. A female dress code for the slave is a bikini, but the lower part only. Like she can't even cover the upper part. They have to visually inspect her. They can touch her except for the private part. The 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 panty. She'll be wearing a panty only. That's the uh, cover of a slave woman, and it's also written. The article that I've given you, you can read on that PDF article as well. That's how it is. And you will see these kind of things everywhere. You just go search a little and you'll find every link. But does it matter that they are not wearing anything? What matters is that they are sex slaves. You can rape them. That's not even that's not even that's not even sex. That's not even intercourse. Anyhow, guys, thank you so very much for your time. I hope you guys have learned something. Spread the video. Let them seek. Let them learn. Let them get out of this deception. And anyone who challenges or opposes, especially the guy Nito, I don't know, whatever his name is, Nito. He is texting left, right, and center on my channel on different videos. I have asked him multiple times. I will give him another few days. If he only texts and doesn't watch and doesn't come up live, then I'm gonna block him. That's how it is. You cannot just go and say certain things without any evidence. You should come up, provide the evidence. So guys, thank you so very much. Yeshua is Lord. Have a blessed day, evening, or night, wherever you are. Yeshua Akbarul Azim. Good day, good evening. God bless you all.